When it comes to the spirits, I have the most mixed feelings about them. While I'm happy they gave the spirits an arc this time, the spirits themselves could use a lot more work to add tension to the plot. This video is actually the first time I would recommend getting rid of something entirely. You'll see what it is. Avatar 1 is the character who showed up the most abruptly, and his voice actor could have better direction. He sounds like he's chatting with friends in the recording booth, not playing a character. While I like Juan's backstory of gaining respect from the spirits, a lot of his scenes come across as preachy, and his interactions with the spirits open up a lot of questions. My first beef with Juan and the writers is acting as if they have the high ground over hunters. Do I really need to explain that life wasn't easy 10,000 years ago? Grocery stores didn't exist, and markets' products would go bad much quicker than they do now without refrigeration. So how else would people get their food? And no, farming wasn't a great option for most of history either. Weather was far less predictable without weather forecasting. Greenhouses and metal fencing to keep out wild animals and allow year-round growing wouldn't be invented until the 1800s. And even animals, in spite of being domesticated, were still extremely unpredictable. And farming equipment? Who is Juan and the writers to criticize people for relying on killing animals for food? Or act like nature is nothing more than what you see in your backyard?
Meanwhile! Bitch.
As for the spirits, if humans and spirits were shown to hate each other in Juan's time, why is it when Aang is alive that humans seek the spirits for protection and guidance? I know a lot can happen in 10,000 years, but an explanation would have been nice. I do like that the studio was willing to take risks by changing the art style for a different era, but unfortunately the ancient ink painting backgrounds clash with the modern anime-styled characters. Some fans have argued that people getting their bending from the lion turtles and how Juan became the Avatar retconned what the lion turtles said in Avatar's final. In the era before the Avatar, people bent the energy within themselves. I don't believe this is an inherent contradiction. People could have gotten these energy bending powers from the lion turtles in the past and stopped using it because of how dangerous it was. They likely learned these abilities were possible from animals and the moon as brought up in the original series. What will help Juan's story, and give his voice actor better direction, is showing the brutality of nature. The scenes where Juan is struggling alone in the woods come across more as an inconvenience rather than actual danger. Have Juan's treehouse be destroyed in a storm, and have him barely survive a disease that modern vaccines could have prevented sometime in his life. At first, maybe Juan resents nature, given his past, until he learns about firebending, giving him the power to control part of nature. Rather than just making him some nature-loving hippie, the chows can still be there to add insult to injury. For how Juan met the spirits and his animal guide, out in the wild, Juan could have trespassed on the animal's territory without realizing it. The cat deer attacks Juan, scratching his leg badly, leading to it becoming infected.
Nope.
This infection would give him better reason to want to get into the spirit world hot spring and give needed tension. After failing to get into the hot spring, the cat deer continues to stalk Juan and attacks him again. Juan fighting the animal would now consider killing it for his meal. In the end, Juan chooses to tame the cat deer, realizing he would use the animal to travel, allowing him to find more food and help him with his infection, increasing his likelihood to survive. Juan taming the cat deer in this scenario would show that humans have to be selfish for a reason, but the spirits would see he came to a compromise with the animal and his instincts. Relating to this, Juan could get the humans and spirits to understand each other and come to an agreement. The spirits would learn that the humans have their instincts for a reason, and humans would agree to perform rituals and help the spirits from becoming corrupted or dying. And in exchange, the spirits would protect humans from Mother Nature. Juan overcoming not just what his culture taught him, but challenging his own instincts as well, would make him a far more powerful character. For the change in backgrounds for Juan's era, have them be a combination of the modern anime style and ancient ink painting backgrounds. Take the shading, lighting, and perspective from modern art, take the details and textures from the classic Chinese art style. A mix of the two styles would fit better with the anime-styled characters and still honor the ancient works of art. Oh boy, let's get this part out of the way. The opening scene for Book 2 was horrible. It has characters we only see once being attacked by a dark spirit in the middle of the ocean. Unless there were survivors of this attack, or Unalaq connected with the spirits to see this, how does anyone know this even happened? Thanks, writers. Not only did you waste an opportunity for characters that I do care about, you opened up Book 2 on a massive plot hole. There's several reasons why the dark spirits, including Batu, don't work. In science, it's explained there's actually no such thing as darkness, just a lack of light.
Not scientifically possible!
And yes, comment section, I know this is a fantasy world. What you have to remember is that the entire basis of waterbending are based on scientific principles. The moon controls the Earth's tides, which was an early learning tool for the first waterbenders. Bloodbending and healing is based on the scientific fact that the human body is made up of 60 to 70% water. So what I'm really getting at is the lack of consistency. Along with this, the dark spirits in design and concept are uninspired. They retconned the lore from Avatar as they never showed up in the first series, and overcomplicated Book 2's plot, along with this asshole. The dark spirits themselves aren't scary and they show up out of nowhere. The characters only tell why they're angry rather than show it. How do we fix this then? Get rid of the dark spirits. I'm serious. Not only should they not exist according to science, they shouldn't exist according to Avatar's rules. There's no working with that. Remember these guys from the last series? They'll be a fine replacement for the dark spirits.
Garbage day! Huh? No!
And for the sake of argument, I'm going to be referring to them as the corrupted spirits. Now, the addition of the light spirits in of itself is not a problem, but I would add to their relationship with the creature spirits. Have the creature spirits and light spirits have a symbiotic relationship. Without the light spirits, the creature spirits become bloodthirsty zombies. Without the creature spirits, the light spirits die and fade away. The light spirits can also die if the proper rituals aren't carried out, which is where their relationship with humans would come in. Regular animals could also be affected by the spirits as well. In the Southern Lights, this could have created more conflict, with Naga turning on Korra, and showing that the spirits are angry that their grounds are being trespassed on during the festival. While there were some creative aspects to the spirit world, it could have gone the extra mile. When Korra gets upset in the spirit world, all that happens in the area is that it gets dark, and the spirits get a bit grouchy. Just like with Wan struggling in the wild, it once again comes across more as an inconvenience rather than actual danger. The spirit world would have been much scarier if everything was completely distorted and started falling apart along with the spirits themselves. When Korra turns into a child in the spirit world, it could have more intense flashbacks of the event or parallels from when Korra was kidnapped as a child in the new timeline I created. The spirits should have gone savage on each other. On top of this, after Korra calms down, things shouldn't just go back to normal. It should have lasting effects on the area. Like I brought up in the secondary cast video, Rava and Vatu are the same character.
No shit, Sherlock.
Rava and Wan's relationship really needs to be worked on. When faced with conflict, Rava has a quick change of heart with Wan and no convincing needed. What hurt these two characters the most in Season 2 was that it was never explained what 10,000 years of darkness even means. In order to be invested, we need clear stakes. Not only does Batu go against the rules of the world as I established before, he also doesn't work thematically. While a generic Doomsday villain isn't a bad thing in of itself, as long as the rest of the writing is strong enough, Batu, however, just being a big spooky shadow, defeats the philosophies of Avatar. That being there is no such thing as good or evil, someone or something is out of balance. I know that Rava and Vatu can't exist without each other, but I feel there is a better way to express this theme. My next criticism is actually a problem I have with Avatar looking back that also applies to Korra.
Shh, it's okay. Have a Snickers.
Certain scenes are cheapened by some of the spirits, including not just Rava and Vatu, but spirits as a whole being given the ability to speak, which takes away the illusion of the spirits being from another world. The spirits' presence alone should be more than enough to provoke emotions in the characters and the audience. The only exception to this rule would be Wan Shi-tong and Ko. Wan Shi-tong being, well, the one who knows 10,000 things, and Ko not just because his voice acting is top-notch, but because he steals faces, which is where he likely gets the ability to speak, making it come across as unnatural. For my example on fixing Rava and Vatu, I'm gonna have to spoil the entirety of the Dark Crystal. If you don't want it spoiled, here's the timestamp. In the Dark Crystal, there are two major races, the Uru and the Skeksis, that are actually part of the same being called the Ur-Skeks. The Ur-Skeks believed they could purge the bad aspects of themselves, but by doing so they created the Skeksis, who became tyrants and committed genocide against all other groups. At the end of the movie, the Skeksis and Uru are merged back together into the Ur-Skeks. What I think would have done Rava and Vatu more favors if, say for example, was if Rava and Vatu were once the same being, just like the Skeksis and the Uru. Rava purging the bad part of herself, believing it would destroy all evil, but ended up creating a separate being. This would go better with the dark spirit aspect, as this would go with the Lovecraft-based mythos I explained with Unalaq. Vaatu, contradicting the rules of nature, would now have an advantage in its plot. Before, ignoring this fact just made Rava and Vaatu uninspired and generic. During harmonic conversions, Korra could merge Rava and Vaatu back together, and then back into herself. But by doing so, Korra sacrifices her connection with her past lives. This would show Korra had to make a choice, instead of her coming across as lazy, as many people have accused her of being. Considering Rava is now merged back with Vaatu, this could make the Avatar state even more dangerous, as the Avatar now could become corrupted if in an extreme emotional state while using it. Regardless, this would show Korra is continuously becoming more selfless as the show goes on.
So you're just stealing ideas from other media now?
Just like how Avatar stole a setting and plot point from The Empire Strikes Back in its second season, originality doesn't exist. In place of Rava and Vaatu speaking, they could show their emotions by changing colors or patterns. Rava could also telepathically send images to Juan's mind to get him to realize what's going on instead of telling him through speech.
I am now going to assault your mind with subliminal messages. Sorry you had to see that.
As for the stakes for Book 2, make the 10,000 Years of Darkness be just that. 10,000 Years of Darkness where no life can be created or sustained. Now here's how Season 2 would go.
The centuries of fighting amongst the humans causing the light spirits to be destroyed. This led to the creature spirits being corrupted, creating a seemingly endless cycle of violence.
The humans continuously left traumatized and being reduced to nothing but their instincts. Korra finds herself at the crossroads of humanity with the harmonic convergence. Her own friends and family trapped in a cycle, and all she, the Avatar, can do is merely delay the inevitable heat death of the universe.
That's a lot more terrifying than I'm a spooky shadow who mildly inconveniences you. Hoo-hoo. The new relationship between the light and the creature spirits would not only create some more depth to the spirit ecosystem, but also the symbolism. Just as there is no such thing as darkness, there is no such thing as hatred, only a lack of love.
I'm the fear that keeps you